Good day, good nights. Hello, I'm Fully Perishable, and welcome back to another wonderful day for content. And today's content is actually something kind of out of the norm. It's something that I don't usually do, and something that I actually have wanted to start branching into, and that's mainly content dealing with the manga and anime that I watch. As for everybody who knows, Fully, from the first part of my name, comes from one of my favorite series, Fully Cooley, and I wanted to start making content based around each of the manga, and I thought there was no better way than to hit you with episode 100, or upload 100, I guess, onto the channel with the tier list of all the manga that I have completed. That I'm caught up on way more manga. I'm caught up on around 200 manga, and then they update regularly. Some of these may actually still be updating, but they just haven't received an update in so long that I've just moved them here. And some of them have been completed, like they're actually finishing with publishing. Others have been canceled, and some have just fulfilled the story that they wanted to tell. And I want to go through each of those, and I want to make an actual, like, tier list of each of the ones and bring them to everybody's attention, because whether they're good stories or not, I actually want to bring them straight to you. And so our tiers today are completed but long, finished but I want more, finished but publisher cut short. So if the publisher cut it short and it feels like the story ends abruptly and like it sort of got wrapped up, that's where those are going to go, and then straight up canceled. And I, for each of them, wrote whether you should read them or you shouldn't read them. I also have on the right hand side, from the top over here down, you will be able to see the actual name of the manga or story, whatever, that I'm trying to indulge in. So, with that, I accidentally still have the Alice in Borderland and Bleach test images there, so those two are going to stay there at the front, and then I'm going to rank the rest of them. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the story, if there's any alternative media that's going for it that I know of, and if I would suggest you read it or not. We're going to, here, hold on, let me grab my phone, because it actually has all the manga and stuff on it. Damn. Damn. Let's actually get into it. Damn sneezes. So the manga app that I usually use is Tachiyomi, because it allows a very diverse set of sources, and it allows for individual categories for you to set up, including whether they're completed, or if you want to separate them out by shonen, what the publisher is, if you want to separate them out by sources. But I tend to use two sources, and that's Manga Buddy and Manga Dex. I do have a couple from Manga Bat that I just couldn't find on the regular sources. I trust Manga Dex pretty well. Manga Buddy, there has been a couple of updates that have stopped a couple of my chapters from uploading, so then the next day I come back and there's like, or the next week I come back and there's like 40 chapters that I have to catch up on, which isn't bad, but it is a little bit tedious. And I tend to have roughly about 10 or 15 manga that I have there, I've read portions of, but I have not completed, only because they are very long and I haven't taken the time to go through them. But these are ones I have. So with that, we're going to get right into it. Alice in Borderland has exactly... It says 64 chapters, but I know that's a lie. It has 93 chapters. Each of the story is pretty fantastic. It's not the usual thing you would go and watch through. It's pretty dark, it's grim, and the story behind it is pretty fantastic. They're actually releasing the second, or they just released the second season for the Netflix special, which is also pretty good. It's, the entire premise of it is all about, you're going through challenges. People are going to die, maybe. Each of the challenges has a way you can solve it by thinking it through, and there are other ways to solve the challenges in which may require brute force, and that could be not the right way to solve them. But Alice Alice in Borderland, I'm going to put with 93 chapters. I'm thinking anything over 100 is where I'm going to set for the bar for like long or completed but long. Anything over 100 seems like a pretty tall ask because each chapter can be roughly 20 pages, though there's not a lot of text like a book. 100 might be about the standard people will want to go through, or they might give up on it altogether. So Alice in Borderland, I'm actually going to place in complete, and I would suggest you would read it. The story of it's pretty fantastic. I don't know if the second season of the show goes over how it actually ends, but the actual manga has come to an end. So that's why I'm suggesting you read it. If the show actually does come to the conclusion that the manga is, it may be better for other people who prefer to watch things to just watch the show. It's a live action show, but it's done pretty well because Alice in Borderland is still based in reality. It's not based in an isekai or something along the lines where it feels like it would take away to have it in a live action sort of scenario. Next one is Amano Megami. This one is pretty spicy in length. It has 302 chapters. Some of them are bonus chapters, just with a cute little side story. But I'm going to put that in completed but long, but definitely read. It is a very cute comedy romance slice of life sort of manga, and it has the cutest story about two childhood friends who love each other, but they slowly have to deal with their feelings and eventually get together. It's a long read, but I promise you that the story and everything about it is adorable, cute, and worth it. Our next selection, actually, because there's quite a few of them, is the Avatar: The Last Airbender books that came after the actual series. Each one of these is very short stories, but they are fantastic, and I wholeheartedly can tell you from each of them that you should actually read them. The first one that we have is Rebound, which is a story about Zuko's girlfriend at the time. It's not May. Oh, God. Oh, this is going to drive me insane. Hold on. Who is Zuko's wife? Oh, it is May. Cool. May. May is this is a story about how she is tired of Zuko always being angry, always constantly just overreacting, and just constantly being up people's asses in general. And so her entire tale during this is she goes and she starts dating other people and eventually realizes that she loves Zuko, she wants to be back with them, and then they get back together. Smoke and Water are the story of Azula and I believe the story of their mother, Zuko and Azula's mother. I believe this is the one where they actually go out to try to find Zuko's mother, because her face, she was given a new face because she wanted to escape the Fire Lord by the face stealer from one of the previous episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Great story. Honestly suggest it. Fantastic. The next is the Lost Adventures, which is a little bit of a longer read because it's a combination of a bunch of stories, but each one is actually pretty cool. It describes where individual people are. It describes adventures in the past that people went through. It brings back some memorable characters like Bee and Huckabee from Jet's crew and various other individuals like that. So if you want to catch up with some of the previous characters, side characters that may not necessarily have been in the final ending for Avatar, I would suggest going through the Lost Adventures. Next one is The Promise. This one is actually pretty interesting. This is, if I remember correctly, the genuine promise that the Earth Kingdom and the Fire Kingdom are having trouble with the town that eventually becomes Independence City, which is the city that takes place in Legend of Korra that Toph's younger daughter runs for the police force. Definitely a fantastic storyline for them to figure it out, how the Avatar has to mitigate not only fights, not only the world, but he also take care of the political side. And it brings around the fact that he has to mature as a person and start working towards actually bringing world peace. Next one is the Rift, in which we actually start to find out I believe this is one between Toph and her family, but also between the Avatar gang, in which she starts to find out more about herself. She also you start to find her love interest in this one, which is pretty fantastic because I didn't know what he was going to look like, but it's really funny who she chooses. It's really, if you were thinking about rom-com status, it actually fits pretty well. The person she chooses is kind of like her exact opposite. So look forward to that, because it's actually really adorable how they start flirting and everything. And the last Avatar, The Last Airbender, is The Search. Oh, maybe this is actually the search for his mother. I forget what Smoke and Water is. It might be them trying to hunt down Azula. It's been a while since I've read them, but I know each one of them was a fantastic story that I can tell you wholeheartedly that you should definitely read. So, we start getting into some of the other choices that I've made when reading, and the first one comes from Beginner's Test of Power. Now, the Beginner's Test of Infinite Power is actually pretty interesting and story-wise. Its publishing is finished, but it feels like there's so much more that they could be doing with it. So if it ever gets picked up again, I think that there is definitely a chance that you will get a lot more out of it. So as far as I'm concerned right now, until more of it gets out, it's not probably actually worth it for you to read. So I'm going with finished, but publisher cut short, don't read it. If you read it through, the story is starting to build itself out, but it's not in any way going to be finished. So I'm not going to suggest you a story that you're going to get into and then you are going to be like, but when is more coming? Bleach is an interesting one because it's one of the longest running shonens, or was one of the longest running shonens. One Piece is still taking that up. But Bleach has a fantastic story, though the last couple of chapters were cut short. So depending on how you want to do it, I would probably suggest that you watch Bleach instead of reading it. And that is just because in the actual 1,000-year Blood War, whatever, that's releasing now, they're actually including the stuff that they couldn't in the actual manga. So if you don't want the incomplete story, your best bet is actually just to watch the show. And I think that would be the best suggestion I can make for anybody when they're trying to get into something that literally has, 727 chapters, a bunch of side chapters and everything. I don't want somebody to have to go through all those chapters and know that at the end they didn't give it the complete story that they wanted. So I can only wholeheartedly suggest that you should go through Bleach by watching it. Especially with the new episodes and everything coming out, that will be your best bet. The next one is actually a pretty weird one. Crazy Leveling System. It is complete because I don't think they're actually releasing any more of it. And the last chapter in and of itself, I don't know is necessarily what I would say is the material to stop on. So I really don't know if I can suggest it right now unless it is going to eventually pick up more chapters. From what I can tell is the last chapter came out, or it was translated at 2/25/23. So it was translated last month, So it still is probably going. It's just completed on Manga Dex for some reason. So I'd look out for this one. It is probably... It's probably not even finished. They're probably still releasing stuff at it. So I'm going to put complete but read, because more things are going to... No, I'm going to put it finished, but I want more. Because with that, it can indicate if I've made a mistake here, if it's still releasing chapters, people can go into it and still read it through, knowing that it's probably still continuing the story. If later on it comes back to bite me in the butt and everything, I'll probably update the description to say, hey guys, this one that I suggested, you should probably stay away from. So I'll put it in finished, but I want more to read. Next one is Deathtopia. Deathtopia is a like Alice in Borderland. It's very dark. There is some nudity into it, just to be forewarned. But the story is absolutely crazy. Like, it's phenomenal. For me, I don't know, if you don't like a darker tone in your manga, I may not suggest you read this. So with that, I'm going to put it in complete and read, because it only has 66 chapters. And I think it will be great for anybody who has like a darker sense when they're reading. Whenever you're writing, if you've read Berserk, if you've read Alice in Borderland already, if you've read, let's see, what's another good one? Another dark one. Junji Ito. If you've read any Junji Ito, because Junji Ito's on the list further down. If you've read any Junji Ito, I would suggest you could probably get through some Deathtopia. Next one is, let's see. Yes. Denpa Kiyoshi. This is World's Greatest Teacher, or Ultimate Teacher Otaku, or whatever. And there's 154 chapters, so I'm going to put it in complete, but long, but I'll put it in read. It's funny, I suggest that you read it, but there is actually a anime, and it's a pretty good anime, actually. I can't remember if the anime actually finishes out what the rest of the manga does. I will have to check in on that. But it is a fantastic storyline that has great characters, so I can wholeheartedly suggest this one. Because it really busts out the mold. It's not an isekai. It's just a wonderful, like, comedy drama slice of life about somebody who doesn't want to do anything, being the ultimate teacher and helping his students out when they need it. And honestly, it's a very, very cheery story. So if you're looking for something of a happier tone, I would look into this one because it has a lot to it. Oh, next one is Dice. Now, Dice, the cube that changes everything. I'm torn. There is 396 chapters of this, and at one point I actually fell off of it and fell behind a couple of chapters just because I didn't feel like reading it. Finishing it up, the story is pretty decent. I just don't know if I can suggest anybody actually get into it. The entire premise is that one day dice start appearing, and the dice allow you to grant your deepest desires, whether it is changing your height, making yourself look better, just a variety of things. And eventually games are set afoot to gain more dice, or to see who gets control over the ultimate dice. The story is pretty interesting. I just don't know if I can suggest for the length of it whether it's good enough for anybody to get into, so I'm going to put Dice in completed, but don't read it. It may be better to eventually, if they make like an anime out of it or something, to watch that, but right now I can't suggest it for anybody. Next one should be Eternal Emperor? Yeah. Now, Eternal Emperor, the publishing is finished, and it's kind of sad it ended only after 19 chapters. So, for right now, I also, like Beginner's Test for Infinite Power, want to put it in finished, but publisher cut it short, don't read. But the general premise behind it is that ba 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 at the at as the first god of war in the heavens, he was betrayed by his beloved one because of his great achievements. He died during the wedding night. 100 years after that, he was reborn on Nai Ting Shen's body, break the sky, go against the heavens, step over all realms. He's reborn into a different body, and basically it's him taking over for where the last person died and taking over their life to exact revenge for the things that have happened to him. Honestly, would have liked to see more, but I have a different manga that has a similar premise behind it that's still going. So I'm looking forward to see how that shapes up, because sometimes manga come out all around the same time that have similar themes, and then one of them reigns supreme and the other ones sort of get axed, and it's a shame that it happens like that. But we can look forward to the other stories and how they will advance. Let's see. Next one. One of my favorite ones, obviously. Fooly Cooly, complete and read. Honestly, this is one of the ones that I'm definitely looking forward to doing a more long-form commentary on in an actual video, in which I will be comparing the manga, the anime, and the other animes all together. I'm trying to compare all the content together and then tell you which one I like the best. Would I have changed anything about the content, especially with the fact that Fooly Cooly has 2 new series that are coming out, Stargaze and Grunge. Don't quote me. But I'm looking forward to those, and I wanted to actually get into the other alternative series, like Alternative and Progressive, because I never watched them, only because other people told me things were bad. And I can tell you wholeheartedly, don't let somebody tell you something is bad until you've experienced it yourself, because that will kill your curiosity for so many things if you only listen to the haters. So, the next one is Gyo. Gyo is one of Junji Ito's well-known books. Yes. And I can suggest it into the read section unless you are scared of horror type things or you don't like to see messed up stuff. Then please stay away. Junji Ito in every way, shape, and form is not for you. Junji Ito writes very, very gory, very over the top, very twisted stories. That's enough berries. Anyways, whether I can wholeheartedly suggest Gyo or not to you depends on how well you can handle it. But Gyo has a fantastic story, the same ending that I would expect from any Junji Ito storyline, and Junji Ito has many things that have been actually animated and put out into the public. We can look forward to one of the ones later on because I have it in the list, I finished it, and I'm looking forward to the animation for it. From what I've heard, the Gyo animation is a little disappointing compared to the manga, but my buddy Andrew, who absolutely loves Junji Ito, honestly suggests it. So I would honestly go take a look at it. I haven't yet, but I'm actually planning on at some point. So the next manga is I Am the Sorcerer King. This one was very interesting when I was reading it. It feels like it could have had more. So I'm going to put it in finished, but I want more to read. And that's because it goes for 143 chapters and it ends very spectacularly. But it does feel like at the end of the story, even though it feels... God. I'm putting in completed but long read. I just wanted more because it felt like at the end I could have asked for a couple of side stories just for characters to date or other things, just so I could get more of a shakeup during the manga reading experience. Because most of it after a certain point is action, 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 and then building up to the greatest threat and then blah. So I kind of wish there was more of it, but I'm not quite sure if That's I just wish for a couple of side stories so I could have gotten a little bit more of the like rom-com side. Next is Isekai Nikita Matai Dakedo Ikanishi. No. This one, it was actually canceled, and I'm not going to suggest you read it because honestly, it only ran for a couple of chapters, 8 chapters, and I can't suggest somebody to get into something for 8 chapters if it got canceled. I really can't. It's not like me. So it being canceled, it actually did have an interesting, actually was building up like a little bit more of a decent isekai story compared to regular ones. It was more of a relaxing, he shouldn't have been here. He wasn't too overpowered. It wasn't anything of the sort. It wasn't ridiculous. But for it to be canceled, I know there was a bunch of isekais coming out at the time for when it was getting released, and I can understand that it just got canceled. Whether it got canceled for good reasons or not, whether something happened to the actual mangaka who was actually drawing it out, who knows? I don't currently, but it's something that it got canceled. I can't suggest it for anybody, and that's pretty much the end. Next one is Kirihishe wa Kako wo Yumemiru. This one's actually pretty fantastic. This one is complete. This one is somebody traveled back in time, and they're trying to fix their mistakes of the past, so they're giving it a second go. And some of those are actually similar themes to manga that are running in this day and age, but not many of them are finished right now. So if you want a complete story that I think is actually pretty fantastic, including some twists I wasn't expecting, this one may be the one for you. It only has, let's see, I think it has around, where are you? It only has 62 chapters, so it's not too long, it's not too extensive. It does break that 50 barrier, and sometimes people find it hard to break the 50 barrier, but if you're used to reading manga, 62 is not going to be a problem for you. You'll probably bust through it in a weekend. I can wholeheartedly suggest it. It has a fantastic story. Everything about it is very adorable. The people in it, the characters, the actions that they take, all pretty solid. Alright. Next is Kofuki Graffiti, or Food Graffiti. This one's absolutely adorable. It is a fantastic story, and it has an anime. Actually, hold on. I'm going to move this to complete, but don't read it. It has a fantastic anime that should have all the chapters and everything in it, because it's a very short manga with 12 actual chapters. Or 15 chapters, couple of bonuses. But, 12 regular chapters, and the anime is extremely cute. Can suggest it to anybody if you're looking for something, a little cooking slice of life, because honestly that's one of the themes that I've been getting into recently. One of the genres is cooking. Oh, I love a good cooking manga or a good cooking anime. There's one that I'm watching right now called Campfire Cooking that I could suggest to anybody. It has a very cute anime style, and the manga is also very adorable if you want to go through that. It doesn't have a lot of chapters if you want to catch up. I think it's like around 70 or so. But I can wholeheartedly suggest that one as well. It's not on the list, but I just wanted to suggest it. Let's see. What's the next one? The next one is Kuritsu Chu Madoshi. This one I will put in completed and read. I want to put it in finished, but I want more. Here, hold on. This one I actually want finished, but I want more. So this one is actually pretty interesting. Another magician excels in power, eventually becomes the world's strongest red mage, and then he uses his abilities to create a reincarnation thing, and he eventually, no, not reincarnation, he eventually travels back in time, and the entire story behind it is wild. Events start changing, things start changing out of the norm, and then he actually has to use the ability again. Like, the entire story is wild, And after the completion of it, I was genuinely surprised that it actually was just finished outright, because I think it actually could have went on for another arc or 2 arcs, because the entire story, though it felt like it was complete, it felt like it could have continued to tell the legendary tale of the people behind it. So honestly, it's one that, read it, but I'll have you know at the end you may be starved for a little bit more. Let's see. Makin no Daydreamer. This one is, let's see. The publishing finished and cut it short. Do I say read or do I say not to read? See, it's a hard one because it gets very interesting. I'm gonna say don't. It got cut short. It's actually, hold on. So, it started out pretty interesting. He was raised by a very powerful adventurer, very young, so he's ridiculously strong, but not too strong. You know how it is, people who... His parents died when their carriage ravine monsters attacked, blah, blah, blah. And he was left as a baby, so eventually his new mother picked him up, raised him as her own, and then taught him all the things. The story's pretty fantastic. I like all the beats to it, but it cuts it. You have the grand adventure laid out for you, so if it ever gets picked up again, I can wholeheartedly suggest going back to it. But until then, it is a very lackluster last chapter. So if it ever gets updated or anything, I will update the description of this video, and that will be to help people come back to it. If I do end up making a tier list on the other mangas I've read, that will actually probably be a standard tier list of S, A, B, C, E, D, D, blah. If I ever do that, I will make an actual tier list, but that's 200 chapter, or that's 200 manga, and I will have to legitimately, like, take the time, because that's going to last for way too long. So we're going to continue with these so far. We're about, I want to say, yeah, we're a little over halfway through. I'll move myself over a little bit to give you the rest of the titles and everything, or I'll move this a little bit up here. Hold on. Ah! Oh. There we go. And then we can, like, extend it a little bit further. Cool. All right. Next one is Mob Psycho 100. This is complete, and I will put it on don't. Because my original suggestion for when I was going and seeing if I enjoy reading manga so much. I can read so many chapters in a day. I could probably finish a 60-page manga by the end of a day. I am a fast reader. I love manga. I love reading manga. Sometimes I do like to take shortcuts, though. Mob Psycho is one that I did take a shortcut on, but I love Mob Psycho because the animation that they did for it was done very well. I can wholeheartedly suggest that the original advice that I was given is that you should read chapters 99 and up, and then just watch the rest of Mob Psycho. There isn't really much of a difference. They do a very good job of capturing the manga and the anime, because I had originally read a good portion of the manga before I watched the anime. Now watching the anime, it holds up very well. And then I looked at everybody else's advice, and they said about the same, that the anime holds up very well, and you should definitely take my advice, watch Mob Psycho, especially with the third season out. I haven't watched the third season yet. I still have to. But I read the rest of Mob Psycho, so I don't think I'm missing out on much. But I would definitely prefer to wrap up the rest of the story by watching the third season. The next one's actually pretty much a bummer, because it was fantastic. It's long as shit, and I wanted more. So, Seven Deadly Sins, or Nanatsu no Taizai, was a fantastic manga, fantastic anime. It's still fantastic anime. I don't know if they're releasing any more of it, but the animes that I've seen from them, fantastic. The story was fantastic. Everything about it was fantastic. And then they started leading as if they were going to start the next arc, and then publishing finished. So it's something that, you know what, I'm putting in it. Our first one finished, but publisher cut it short. Read. I think that if they ever bring it back, they should, and that I just want more of the story because we started to get more. We started to get more story behind Arthur and his kingdom, and it's kind of sad that we didn't get more of it. But I can wholeheartedly suggest that there is an ending. It's a decent ending. There's a certain point where I'll feel like you've gone past the ending, and you'll read a little bit more as if it's continuing into the next arc, so be wary of that. Oh, Naruto, Naruto, Naruto. Do I suggest it as a... Do I suggest it as it's complete, and you should read it, or don't read? What would one rather prefer? Would you rather watch like 500 episodes, or would you... You know what? I'm going to make a key observation and suggestion. I'm going to put it in complete. Don't read. I've read all of Naruto, and I've watched all of Naruto. Wholeheartedly, deep down in my heart, from somebody who's also read and watched all of Bleach, and read and watched all of One Piece, let me tell you. Watching the anime is going to be so much more of an easy experience, but you're going to deal with filler. Naruto has so much goddamn filler in it. So what I am telling you is go on to the wiki, because they have the filler episodes marked. Skip them. Go through the probably like 200 episodes that make Naruto great, and then just be happy with that. Because honestly, I cannot suggest anybody go through 700 chapters of Bleach and Naruto now, because the anime is there ready for an easier to experience. Let's see. Next one is Nidome no Jinsei. This is a very cute one. I will suggest that you read it. It's really funny. All the fan service is at the end of the manga, but the story and everything leading up to it, all fantastic. It's all about an old Japanese man who gets reincarnated into another world, and God fucks up immediately. God gives him like an overpowered weapon and everything, and so he just starts absolutely just dominating the world. But he used to be like a famous general and everything, so his actual combat skills are decent. It all works. It's all fantastic, and honestly, it's something that, with the story and everything completed, it could have been one that you could have gone a little bit further on. It's not too like outrageous. I think it only has like 60 chapters. Oh, 70 chapters. And they're not all bad. They're split up, so it's an easy read. But the story is fantastic. I love all the characters for it. Definitely one that I could see anybody wanting to get into. Oh. Here's another one I'm pretty salty about. This one is Oritu Kawazu-san. And it is... Oh, God. Okay, we're getting down there. It is complete, but it's not. The last time a chapter came out for this one, it was 2019, and it didn't end in any meaningful way. So I don't know if they just stopped producing them and everything, but like, it's not good in any way, the ending, because it definitely leaves you wanting more. I I'm gonna put it in finished, and I wanted more. Like, it ends, but, like, I don't know. From the last time I read it and everything, like, it's all fantastic. It's all great and everything. It's adorable. Everything about it is cute. But I just wanted more. I hate when something ends on, like, the 40th chapter and it feels like there was so much more of a story. But 40 chapters is actually a decent length. Like, some things only get 12. I can't complain about it getting 40 chapters. But it's one of those ones where it ended and I only craved more. So that's my suggestion is it's finished. Double checking the last chapter. It's just I kind of wish there was more. Next one should be Penlong. This one is also in the situation with one of the other ones where it's like chapters are still being released, possibly. So be wary of it. Where did I put these ones? Finished, but I want more to read, I think. Or did I put it in completes? There's a lot of Penlong chapters. So I'll put it in complete read. No, I'll put it in a finished, but I want more. It's a very long one. It has 245 chapters. Fantastic story, though. Really goes above and beyond. Really makes the world and everything in it in depth. And though the translation is rough at sometimes, it's nice to read through. So it's one of those ones where the start of it is a kid is going on an adventure. He finds a ring and then he gains a sort of master to take care of him and everything. Eventually his master passes away and stuff like that, but fantastic story. Can suggest it's just a long read, so letting you know that if you're going to get into Penlong, you're in it for the long run. And more chapters might be coming out. Next one, Player Reborn. Finished, but I want more. This one is also long as shit. It's 194 chapters, and it ends in a decent way, but it starts up a sequel, it feels like, at the end. So just to let you know, it's like it felt like it was planning for another season, but it didn't do it, so it's kind of sad to think about. So if you go into it, just know that at the end of it, you may be feeling a little bit empty. You might want more story. But with the way it ends, it feels like a definitive end. It's just a sort of tee off. If they ever did anything cool, if they didn't, also cool. Pluto is a complete and a read. Actually, it might be a long read. No, it's only 65 chapters, but it is a long read. There's a lot of detail, a lot of sentences and everything. Pluto is actually a spin-off on a sort of Astro Boy. There we go. Is a sort of anime stylizing noir existence of Astro Boy. It's fantastic. There's drama, there's mystery, there's psychology built into it. It has a lot of in-depth story, and reading it, it was absolutely fantastic. That is one I can wholly suggest, especially if you like mecha, especially human-shaped mecha who have really good powers and everything. Definitely one I can suggest to you. Ranker's Return. This one is very interesting. Canceled read. There's gonna be two of these that are really weird. Ranker's Return is a fantastic story about somebody who quit doing video game stuff because his family was downtrodden. They were going through problems. He had to make money so he could support his father and everybody in the hospital and everything. And then his rich friend goes to support him and make him into a streamer and everything. Now, the reason why I'm saying this one's weird is because the original went for 24 wonderful chapters, and then it got canceled. Now, the reason I'm suggesting it now is because it got picked up, like some of the other ones I suggested could get picked up. It got picked up, and now it's on like 80 chapters, and it's fantastic. Can suggest it wholeheartedly. This is one of the ones that has blown my expectations, and I love it wholeheartedly. I enjoy any manga that will take me through an RPG style thing. There's actually a couple that I should move over onto my manga app that I didn't even think about. Hardcore Leveling Hero, or Warrior, which is long, but has also a fantastic story, is one that I can also say that if you like Ranker's Return, or if you like some of the other RPG ones, I would give Hardcore Leveling Warrior also a try. That needs to be on this list, and I don't have it on here, and I'm kind of sad about it, but I can suggest it wholeheartedly. Let's see. Reborn Super Doctor. This one is finished, but I want to read more. How many chapters did you go for? Reborn Super Doctor went for 161 chapters. Each of the chapters, when you're actually reading them, don't feel too long, so that's pretty nice. Some chapters for other things are like 100 pages long, and I can't suggest anybody if there's like 300 chapters, and then each of the chapters has 100 pages to read, because that's just a tedious amount of work. I can suggest that it's really good all day long, but I don't want to force somebody to go through all of that. Rebirth Super Doctor is fantastic. I just wanted more of it. It ends very nicely. It wraps it up pretty great. It just also feels like they could have extended it into a couple more arcs to take care of other threats. It's weird, but I would suggest it. It's definitely something at the end you'll look at the things that they didn't wrap up, and then go, hey, it feels like they could have put more into this. It says it's still ongoing, so I don't know, but the way that it ends it feels permanent. Let's see. RPG, this is going to be complete but long read. RPG is a fantastic story which goes over somebody who is a kid, like any of us back in the day. No shit. And he experienced something bad in an RPG where people he thought were friends betrayed him, and then he's just going back into the RPG world. At some point, the story is fantastic. I don't want to spoil too much of it. The actual ending is pretty great, and the way it continues is pretty great, because he had an item on him that blocked the DLC area. So what does an RPG do when they only create one of an item, and that one item is on a character that they cannot get it off of because it's an unattainable item? They can't give another one. It's not tradable, and it's given to the one person who got persuaded to leave the game, the top hero. And then what do? They can't develop the game any further. I mean, they could technically make another item. I thought about that, but would they? So it's just like, as the story evolves, as you hear the true story, as you figure out characters and their flaws, you get to experience a more in-depth friendship breakout from it. It goes over the old ways of how people used to make friends well, people still make friends on MMOs, but the way that somebody would feel about it, the way somebody would interact with it, all of it just fantastic. Definitely suggest a read through. This one I'm going to suggest. Let's see. This one is Sasoku Muso. I am going to suggest the publishing finish after 9 chapters. This one's going down here as well. Whether they pick it up or not again, I don't know if they will. I liked the premise of the story. It was about a guy who had a limited amount of mana, but he used the best of it because he could technically never run out of mana. He was given unlimited mana, but he was only given like 10 units of mana, if I'm remembering correctly. He was given a lackluster amount of mana when he was going through. And so just the way he makes use of it and everything is pretty fantastic. I don't know if I can suggest anybody actually read it because it's only 9 chapters, and I don't want anybody to get so invested in the thing and then it just not be worth it. So with that, I will suggest you to stay away from it for now. If it ever gets picked back up, I would love to pick it back up because I was enjoying the premise behind it. We have another dark tale here, and that is with Setsuriku no Tenshi. And honestly, this is one of those ones where it's very dark. It's actually complete. It's the same way with Deathtopia and Alice in Borderland. There's not a lot of chapters. There's only 55 chapters you're going to be going through. But just to let you know, it's dark. Everything about it is dark. The story behind it also dark. So if you're going to go through it, just know that you must keep darkness in your heart and root out the evil. But it has a great story, so if you can stomach it, definitely pick it up. The entire premise is a girl named Rachel. It wakes up, 13-year-old girl, in the basement of a facility filled with murderers. I'll leave it at there. Let's see. Who do we got next? Skill of Lure. Skill of Lure is a long one, I'm pretty sure. No, it's only 45 chapters. Then with that, Skill of Lure is a complete and read. I have read through Skill of Lure multiple times, and it is a very cute slice of light rom-com. It is one that I can suggest for anybody because the entire premise of it is actually pretty interesting. It's that dorky guy who's always falling over into perverted scenarios, and his best friend is just trying to teach him how to do better in the dating world. So he takes him around, gets him some new clothes, starts to focus on him and training and everything, and it's all about him turning his life around. Honestly, fantastic story, some twists and turns that nobody expects, but it's all about him getting into it and enjoying his life finally, because he was terrible at it beforehand. Here, let me move this just a little bit more up. That should be fine. I can like duck down for a second if I need to. Solo Leveling, complete and read. Actually, this one might be a complete and long because of the long. Yeah, 210 chapters. Complete but long, read. Solo Leveling is one of my favorite actual manhwa of all time because the story of it was interesting. It's not the standard isekai. It's the portals started opening up on Earth and everybody started gaining powers from it. And what happens when the weakest person has to become the strongest. And honestly, it's sad because the author of it died. He was able to finish out the manga, the manhwa. He was able to finish. God, sorry. I really love this one. It's honestly something I can suggest anybody to read. The story is fantastic, and there's an anime coming out for it soon. Even the team that was behind it are starting to finish up some of the side stories that he wanted to create. I'm just very sad that the actual author of this died. I'm very sorry that this is like a... I'm sorry, it's just getting to me. It is one of those stories that I could suggest for anybody. The way that he overcomes, the way that he has to push himself. It is a good story through and through. And I know that if you love anything along those lines, please pick up Solo Leveling. It is fantastic. They've already started releasing the actual books in the West, and I'm happy about that because I started picking them up. Just appreciate the people who are still out there creating things, because sometimes they go away too soon, and sometimes you don't get to finish the story. And that is honestly a shame, just like with the creator of Berserk. I am hoping that the team that's helping finish it out gets it all done, completed, and everybody's happy with it, because honestly, it's something that nobody expects, and it's tragic to see it happen. Alright. Sorry, hold on, let me take off my jacket. It's getting hot in here. Ooh, getting emotional. All right. Let's see. We only have a couple more. Uh, Next one is Spirit Pet Creation Simulator. This is one that says completed, but it could probably come back. So far as I'm concerned in its thing, I'll put it in an episode has or chapter hasn't released since 2022. So I'll put it here for now because I don't know where to put it elsewise. It has a fantastic story, even if it's finished, but it doesn't have like a true ending. It's starting to pick up steam, and I don't know exactly what happened to it. This could just be mislabeled, and it could be coming back later. So read at your own risk. Spirit Pet Creation Simulator. Just know that it's rough. Let's see. Sun Can Rock. We're gonna put this in long, but read. Fantastic. It's all about a loser who starts to work out and starts a rival gang. He starts taking over the Damn. Hold on. Talking so much. He starts a rival gang and starts taking over the areas, the buildings, the apartment complexes, everything in a city, and becomes the top gang in the area, even defeating some of the Yakuza. It is a fantastic story. I can suggest it to anybody who loves like hardcore, very grimy, very just physical manga. If you want something that's like dark and grimy, this is where you're going to want to be. Sunken Rock is fantastic. The art style is just absurd. I can't believe he made it for all of that. It has that visceral energy to it. Definitely something everybody should pick up if you're into these sort of things. Tensei Ouiji wa Daraketai. This one is finished, I think. It says complete, but there hasn't been one since 2020. So I'm going to put this as finished, but publisher cut it short. I don't suggest you read it, even though it's so cute. It's a very adorable story. I really wanted more because they were really picking up with it. So if it ever comes back like the other ones, I really suggest that you pick it up because honestly, it's really adorable. King's Avatar is the same problem that we had with Ranker's Return. They cut it short, they canceled it, and now it has come back and it's reaching past where it was going before. Chapters come out probably once a month, so you're going to be looking for that. So just know that it's a chapter that doesn't come out every once in a while. Toaster Dude, I'm going to put in complete. There's not a lot of chapters. Fantastic story. Very silly. Absolutely adore. It's all about how one day a dude wants to become a superhero and then he puts on, or a dude just wants to buy a toaster and then the toaster gets destroyed and then he starts wearing it as a like symbol because he wants to become a hero now to avenge his toast. Tomb Raider King. That's going to be a long and it's going to be a read. Tomb Raider King is in the same level as Solo Leveling. The author did not die, but it has just recently gotten complete in translation for the Western audience, so everybody can look forward to that. There's quite a number of chapters, but I love the story, especially since it deals with artifacts that are linked to the stories that we've told in the world. Like, Mjolnir is there, Thor exists, Anubis exists, all gods exist, and each story from the past has like an artifact link to it. It's very interesting if you want to learn a couple of interesting stories and through history, and the actual main character is a lot of fun. Tonari no Seki-kun. Fantastic little story. It's actually adorable. Love the ending. There's actually a sequel to this in which you get to see his marriage and everything and their child. So if you love adorable things, I can suggest this one, as the entire premise is Seki-kun just every single day during each of his periods finds a new way to waste time. And each of the ways he wastes time is incredibly interesting, whether it's him building a small thing for him to get his driver's license with a little remote control car or anything along the lines. Everything is absolutely hilarious, and the animation for this is adorable. So if you don't necessarily want to read it, but you want to watch it, I can wholeheartedly suggest the animation. Three more. Next one is Uzumaki, which is completed. Also a Junji Ito. It's dark, so I can't suggest it for everybody. But Uzumaki is pretty fantastic, and with the animation that's coming up, look forward to that. Uzumaki is basically people are stuck in a town, and that town keeps obsessing over spirals. Eventually, everybody obsesses over the spirals, and the ending is poetic or grim, one of the two. But if you're into dark settings and you love Junji Ito and you haven't picked up Uzumaki yet, I would definitely suggest it. Zinker is going to go with long, but don't read. Zinker is actually interesting because it's 223 chapters. I thought it was going to be more interesting. It's about a boy who loves to do parkour, and then eventually you find out about robots and stuff. It's interesting. The translation fails at points. And the story wraps up in, I guess, a decent way, but it's a lot of chapters for an ending that I don't feel is necessarily worth it, so I can't wholeheartedly suggest you actually read through Zinker. Oh, sorry, Uzumaki, then Zinker. And the last one that I'm really sad about is Zuwa Dao, which is, I want to say finished, but I want to read more. And I'm going to put in don't. It's 55 chapters, but it just ends abruptly, and it feels like there's so much potential for the rest of it. So honestly, don't read it. I just don't want to force anybody to read through 55 chapters of something that just ends abruptly and you don't have a satisfactory ending. Honestly, it being canceled really sucks because everything else that was coming out at the time, this was the best version of it. But yeah, that's all of them. This is what we've gotten in total. This is what we're working with. All of these, honestly, some I feel like I'm actually surprised we got to use the finished but publisher cut it short read. I'm also very surprised we actually got to do the canceled read section. But with that, I am happy with the results of it. I hope everybody else is happy with the results of it. Look forward to when I start the actual manga review thing in which we start going over the anime versus the manga and everything. So with that, I have been Fully Perishable. I hope that everybody enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed all of this video. It's been wacky, crazy. I hope some of this inspires you to read some of these. Honestly, each of these stories is fantastic. Some of them I suggested you don't. If you still do, I hope you have a great time. But with that, if I don't see you in the next one, I hope you have a good afternoon, a good evening, and a good night. Take care. Bye-bye.